Welcome back to the Four Pillar Podcast, where we stand for faith, family, fitness, and finance in that order, baby. And welcome back to another episode here. We have one of my great friends here from church. They got to know and love him and his wife. They're amazing people. But his name is Jonathan Faris, and I have him here today as a guest. And he has some really cool stuff that we're going to talk about. He is a lineman for the Energy Co-op. Right. Is that correct?
Electrical lineman.
Yeah, electrical lineman.
I don't want him to get mixed up with the football lineman. I'm not big enough for that.
He plays for the Dallas Cowboys.
No.
So he's an electrical lineman. He's been going to, like I said, I met him at church, and he also is an avid hunter as well too, and just likes to do hard things as well.
Yeah.
Tried to run the Mohican 100, which got to past mile 50.
54.
54.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about that here in a minute. I don't want to get on rabbit trails yet. But that's something else I'd like to talk about. I think it'd be really cool. Just the mentality and everything with that, 'cause that's super impressive to even go, make it that far in the race. But really quick, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself, or tell us a little bit about you and where you're from and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So, like Ian said, I'm Jonathan Faris. We met at church about 2 years ago. I moved up here from Kentucky. If you can't tell from my accent, I'm not from Ohio, but yeah, I moved up here from Kentucky. I've been electrical lineman for 9 years, hunter practically my whole life. Actually, in middle school and high school, I quit sports just so I could hunt. So, due to conflicts of schedules, because I tried to run track and they said I went to 3 practices and they're like, our meet Saturday, and I was like, well, it's opening day of turkey season, and they're like, well, you're not going to run. Yeah, I was like, I guess I'm not running. So, and I'm not a big advocator on quitting, but turkey hunting or hunting came first in that sense of compared to that. And
I want to call it hunting. It's just pursuing your passion,
right? Yeah. And I think in the hunting world, and we can, whichever way you want to go on this, but in a hunting world, there's always like different types of hunters, and we're starting to see more of that with like Cameron Haynes and all these other guys, these huge hunting athletes compared to, I call them Bubba hunters. Like, they go out there, they ride their 4-wheeler 5 feet from their stand, jump up, drinking coffee and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. It each his own. But there is a fitness side. There's a side, like a lot of times everybody, oh, he's going hunting, big fat guy just sitting there, slob. You know what I mean?
Right.
Compared to these backcountry hunters are insane. Like, one of the less popular ones, but he is very popular. His name's Donnie Vincent, and that guy, like, he's an animal, but you don't hear much about him. But
yeah, I've never heard of him before.
He's actually, if you've read the book Comfort Crisis, him and Michael Easter, he's the guy that took Michael Easter out. So, like, he's not so much in your face about it. He's sponsored by a few people. He's done documentaries because he loves nature and stuff. But you look into him, that guy's got it going on.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. I'll have to look that up. I actually have the Comfort Crisis, the book. It's sitting in my bookshelf. I haven't read that one yet.
Oh, you'll love it.
Is it a good one?
That actually was the book that kind of helped switch my brain on like how to do things. It's like how you're saying doing hard things. That book was the start of it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think you're a really impressive individual. But if you don't mind me saying that, I mean, as far as, so I guess I didn't mention this as well too. You started your own hat business,
right?
So you have your own hat business. You work as a electrical lineman. Just got married, right? So you have the whole family thing, and then you've been training, working out, and like you like to run and stuff. So I mean, if you talk about like the 4 pillars, right? You're doing like all the 4 pillars and trying to like push yourself, and it's super impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. See, where I'm from in Kentucky, like, this is more of a rural area, but there is some city. But where I'm from, it's literally farmland and stuff, and it's more of a more impoverished area.
Yeah.
It's just part of the country. Actually, Kentucky, there's like 2 really wealthy spots, and the rest of it's more impoverished. It's not that it's a bad place. It's just you don't have the industrialism as where I'm from compared to here.
Right.
But yeah, so when I got out of when I was in high school, I kind of looked at, I hated college. or I hated college. I hated school, and I knew I wasn't going to go to college. So I'm like, well, I got to make money somehow. What's the most money I can make? I don't mind to work because I grew up on farms, cattle farms, pitching hay, cutting tobacco, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was either the military, but they don't get paid nothing.
They should get paid more.
They should get paid more, but they really, for what you're going in for, you're not getting paid much.
Right.
And then I looked into electrical lineman, and I was like, man, that actually pays pretty good. And it's a lot of adventure. Like, so, most part I've been out I'm outside, you're moving around, you're not in the same area every day. You're doing basically the same thing, but not exactly the same thing every day. And I've traveled all over. I've worked in Georgia, Alabama, Florida. Actually, before I came to Ohio, I worked in Ohio on storm, South Carolina here recently on the hurricanes and stuff.
Yes, you guys will actually get shipped to go to other states if there's a need or like an emergency or something like that to work on stuff, correct?
Oh yeah, and in the state too. I've worked practically every co-op in the state of Kentucky because we would go and help out after like ice storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, all that. So yeah, and which I'm a co-op lineman, so there's different like linemen too on that. So you have
I did not realize that.
Yeah, so you have like I work for a co-op, so my whole job is to maintain and keep the lights on for the energy cooperatives members.
Gotcha.
So if you work for a utility company like AEP up here, it's the same difference. Your whole main job is to keep the lights on and maintain the lines.
Gotcha.
If you're a contract lineman, so like around here, New River's really big. Thayer is another big one. And I've seen a couple 5-star trucks, but not many. But those guys, their whole purpose is to come work at co-ops or utilities for a while and just keep them busy until there's a storm, and then they go make their money on the storm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's actually, yeah, right. So there's different ways you can work in that industry essentially as well, too.
Oh yeah. And then you have also transmission and distribution. I'm distribution, so that's the wooden poles that you see. There's some steel, but most of the time they're wooden, and they're like the highest I've ever worked on is 65-foot pole. That's the biggest. Now the big towers.
I would say that's pretty tall.
65.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
It ain't too bad. Most of them are 40. That's your average.
Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but the big metal tower things, so you don't work on those then?
No, that we have some, and I mean we maintain them some, but that's transmission. So the difference is, like where I came from, the co-op I was at originally, it's called Fleming Mason in Kentucky. They have no transmission. Here we have some, but you don't work on it hardly ever. But the great big towers, that's transmission. So it's like crazy amount of voltage and stuff. That's the ones you see on YouTube flying in on helicopters and stuff like that, or guys climbing towers. But a lot of times they do dead work because it's unfeasible how much voltage is.
I was going to say is there times they don't do dead work on those?
Yeah, so the helicopter linemen, you'll see them do live work on it, but you have to come in. You can't climb up and reach out and get on it safely because we can't make enough. Like I can work on my distribution lines with rubber gloves and rubber goods because they make them thick enough that you can do it. But up there's so much voltage you can't. The only way to do live work is if they fly in on a helicopter like a bird. And because he's not making contact with anything else.
Oh, I always forget like the whole the contact with electric and all that stuff makes that big of a difference.
Yeah, well, it's difference of potential. So, and I won't go super deep into it, but
this is still super interesting to me.
yeah. So so you have single phase, 2 phase is not very common, but there is some out there in 3 phase. So what that means is 2 phase or single phase has one primary phase and then it has a neutral. All right. So both, and the neutral's built for return. All right. So when electricity goes, it has to come back where it wants to go back home. So we isolate it up top with insulators and stuff so we can use the energy when the electrons when it gets to a house and stuff. Okay. But it has to have a return. So when it comes, so that's what the neutral is. So you have different potentials, and everything at least for co-ops, AEP don't ground. They don't ground as much, saving money, and you can get away with it. But they do ground some every so many miles of poles. But as a co-op, we have every pole grounded.
Okay.
So you have like copper wire coming down,
And that essentially is going to stop stuff from.
yeah, that's to
Right.
help stray voltage.
Yeah.
And keep its protection for things mostly. But anyway, so like if I grab the phase and I don't touch anything else, I don't touch the pole because the pole's grounded, and I don't touch that neutral, I'm fine. It won't do anything to me. But if I touch the pole, then it has a path to ground and it will use me. Another way you can get hurt, so anything of two different potentials, all right? But that includes, like, if you get into three-phase work, you have each phase is a different potential.
So are you saying even if what if like your feet are touching the ground though, right? Or are you saying
No. I'm saying if you're like a bird, you grab the wire.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha,
So like a bucket
gotcha.
truck, technically, and don't ever do this. Like no lineman should ever do this. But
Okay.
technically, the bucket is completely isolated.
Yeah.
In theory, I could go up there, and not in theory. I know of some guys that have done this with just terrible practice.
You should never do this.
Never do this. This
Okay.
is acting to be hurt or killed.
Be fried.
Yeah, yeah. But in a fiberglass bucket, you can grab the phase
Yeah.
and if you're not touching it, in the bucket's not touching anything else, you're good. You're a bird on the wire because it's completely insulated. Yeah, and I've heard some stories of the old guys. Some of the stuff, they'd take it and burn spiders on top of a pole, like it sit there and arc it up because it is tracking. Because wood's not itself is not. If it's a dried up pole, it won't track down. It's the ground wire that it normally finds. It has to find.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
That's super fascinating.
yeah.
So I know we talked about this before, and I obviously if you're allowed to share this or whatever or talk about it, I thought it was super interesting. You talked about people that tried to steal electric, the mechanisms that like you would go to like the houses and stuff, and they would like stick
and meter base.
Yeah, the meter. They like
Yeah.
stick the forks and stuff in. Like, are you allowed to talk about
Oh
that?
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's nothing.
So can you tell us your craziest story with like how someone tried to steal electric from like the meter base?
They're not kind of crazy. I don't know if they're crazy, like stealing meter base. I have a good crazy story of rolling up because part of my job where I was is you got to go check on like outages and stuff. We have smart meters, so if anybody's listening there, you thinking, hey, I can get away with this. We're there. As soon as you pull that meter, we know that you've turned it off, and we're going to be there pretty quickly. But anyway, so when there's an outage, I would go out, or we have problems with these meters reading because how they work is on an AMI system, and they actually talk through each other.
Okay.
So we would know, like, hey, this one's not sending. We could tell what strength of what signal we're getting through it. And one time, we showed up on one guy. There was one guy. He was we don't know if he was a lineman. I guess he worked for a contractor for a long time, but got arrested and stuff, got fired. So they ended up having to take his transformer down. I was there. I went there once on it, and we ended up.
What do you mean took his transformer down? Like
so how it works is you have the high voltage line, which is 7,200 around here. Where I was, it was 14.4.
Oh, you mean like they took his whole pole out or whatever?
Not the pole, but the gray cylinder up there. A transformer, its whole job, because we cut the leads. He'd climb up there, squeeze them back. Like,
jeez.
Yeah, and he also first he pulled the meter and put spoons and butter knives. That's what you were talking about, and you can see where they've arced it up trying to get in there. I seen one time somebody cut a plastic bed liner and then glued it so when they shoved it, they measured it out. They had her good. I mean, it had a handle on it and everything.
Jeez.
Yeah, but that guy that we had to take the transformer away. So how it works is the 7,200 comes in the top side of the transformer, and it does what it says, transforms. All it is oil and copper windings, and comes back out at 120, 240, and 120 on each leg, and 240 on both across.
Yeah.
And he kept stealing it, So we ended up backing up there and taking the transformer down. So he had no way to turn the voltage down until he paid his bill and come back. So
That's crazy.
yeah, we're not going to come out there and steal your transformer if if you're late payment.
Right.
And actually, they're pretty lenient. This guy was a habitual stealer, so that's why we had to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was the dude just living? Was he just living without electric or whatever? For
Yeah,
a
he
while,
didn't have.
or?
We took the meter, and then he stuck his stuff in. We figured out one of the neighbors called on him, a Karen, but it was funny. She called and said I know he doesn't have. He ain't supposed to have electric. So we went down there, and we cut the service wire down, and he put it back up, and then after the service wire, he kept messing with it. We just took the transformer down and said, now you're going to have to pay. You're not getting any power.
That's wild.
Yeah. But the craziest, when you were talking about that thing I've ever rolled up on, we had a meter that wasn't responding very well. And I get there, and it's covered in aluminum foil.
Yeah. Like the whole meter has
the whole
aluminum.
meter is covered in aluminum foil. And we get there, and I go up, and I'm ripping it off. And I mean, it's like, I don't know, half-inch thick. Like this guy sat there.
Oh, that's a lot of aluminum foil.
Right. And yeah, and there's magnets all over it. And he comes out, and half his face is shaven. Like eyebrow, everything, head. And he
First of all, did you acknowledge?
No,
Okay.
I just wanted to get it because this is in a holler in Kentucky. You know,
Okay.
this is that you want to get away, kind of, because some of these places you didn't want to be up there at middle of the night. But half his face was shaven, and he said he was doing that to keep the radiation in
The foil
from the meter. Yeah,
Okay.
keeping the radiation in the meter. There's no radiation. I don't know what this guy was on, but I left. I got out there. But that's the craziest I think I've ever dealt with.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What you know what like happened? I mean, was he like paying his bill still, or was he just, okay.
Well, I was sent there because, like I said, the AMI, they talk to each other, and I guess he had so much aluminum foil it could not talk to the other ones because the antenna was blocked.
Gotcha. So you guys are just like just let him wrap in aluminum foil after that, or
yeah. Well, I just told him, said, don't be doing that no more. And the magnets it was an old dial meters. They used to try to drill holes and throw salt so the gears would get rusty, so they'd be slower, or magnets would slow them down.
Interesting.
Yeah, so now the new ones, they're all electronic, so you can't get away with that. So
yeah.
But,
and then your job industry, you say it's pretty safe as well too, right?
Yeah. I mean, with training, I mean, there's hazards, but I mean, safety is they push it pretty hard. Not everywhere,
Right. Once again, if you want to talk about this, if you're allowed to, accident. Have you ever seen like something bad happen, or have heard of people like getting like fried or anything like that, or like a really bad?
So, actually, I've known a couple of guys, not working directly where I've worked.
Yeah.
But we had a contractor where I was in Kentucky. I won't get into any names for the.
Sure. Yeah.
But he worked for our contractor, and they kicked him off of our system because he would not wear his gloves and sleeves, or because by requirement, when I say gloves and sleeves, it's rubber gloves or rubber sleeves come clear up to here, and then your gloves come in on after it. And depending on what voltage, depends on the class. So class 2s, you can handle I'm gonna get this wrong, 20,000 volts, because they have to test if you're doing phase to phase. It has to be more than that. So like if it's a 7200 line, I've really got 14.4 potential, like the difference of voltage. Right. And then you have 14.4. We had to have 30 class 3 and they're 30,000 volts. But some of the guys up here were in AEP, they work on 19.9, so they got to have class 4. They're 40,000 volts, and they're just they're hard because of it's the thickness of them. Right. But class 2 sleeves. But this guy was bad about not wearing his either or, and would go up there and
just do it with his bare hands.
He would on the he wouldn't on the phase, but he wouldn't wear sleeves ever. But he wouldn't. If you're in what they call the zone, so like OSHA standards is 3 foot, I think 3 foot something. Yeah. I'd have to look. People are going to go nuts, like, oh, this exact one, because linemen are very
right.
But OSHA standards is 3 foot, and if you're 3 foot in a conductive, something conductive,
yeah,
that's my reach and extended reach. So if I have a metal something metal in my bucket and I can reach it within 3 foot of it, I need to have my gloves and sleeves on.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to go up there and just start waving stuff around, but by OSHA's rules,
Right.
you have to.
Right.
But he would get up there and not have his sleeves on or his gloves, and move neutrals, which you never do because it could swing up and hit something, and that's actually what got him. He was working in a city, and he was booming up, had a neutral on the bucket with him. And this was after he got kicked out of our system. He worked for their contractors. They were working on another system.
Yeah.
And a hot jumper hit his back, and see, he was dead to ground, and it killed him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I've seen some questionable things, not so much on the people getting fried, but so much like things falling, things breaking. You gotta, there's a lot of hazards and stuff with that. But you can mitigate it and I don't think you can eliminate all accidents. I'm a firm believer that just some things happen. You can check things and crazy things happen, but you can limit it a lot. And some of that is kind of like health issues as well. I think, and like I've talked to you about it, in the blue collar industry, not just line work, there's this bad stigma. It's kind of like the hunting, what I was saying above. Like, we're technically, I've told you, industrial athletes. That's our term.
Right.
Industrial athletes. And that's like plumbers, electricians, and all that. And yeah, the stretching is stupid. Like, it's dumb and all this. But if you look at the blue collar workforce, the backbone of America, they're actually not that healthy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's a free country. You can eat or do whatever you want, but it's like it will catch up with you.
Right.
And I've heard of guys having heart attacks, having heat strokes, and all this because, one, they're overweight. Two, that they're tough men. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm just saying there's a lot of health problems too.
Yeah, if you're out of shape and you're pushing yourself and not taking care of yourself, it's you're not going to stop a heart attack, right? That's going to lead up to potentially stuff like that happening.
Right. And injuries on your body. If you don't, you could pull a muscle. I know guys had to have. Like linemen used to be, it's gotten less because of some of the tools we have. Batteries now take away was elbows, a lot of elbow problems, shoulder problems, and knee problems are the 3 most common. I know of 2 guys. One's younger than me, had shoulder surgery just because he's reaching out on a hoist too far and stuff. Not straight, and I don't know if the stretching would have helped, but it couldn't hurt, if you keep limber and all that.
Or even what you're saying, too, if they exercise or work out or do something, too, that's potentially going to mitigate some of those probably injuries or issues as well, too, just being stronger, more flexible, or just in general, I would say, too.
Right. And yeah, because, it's just all, and I just know on line work and stuff, but I know plumbing, or they're bending down, you're in awkward positions, mechanics, all these blue collar, and I don't know, it's the men that are willing to do them kind of jobs are great men. I've worked with a lot of great men, but they're not they put that kind of stuff on the back burner, and you see kind of 2 extremes. You see the kind that are like fitness heavy, hardcore all the time, and then you have the ones that like they drink 5 energy drinks a day, smoke a pack a day,
They go home and drink a 12-pack of Bud Light.
Yeah. So, they're like, they live for today and not tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then some of them, there is some that take pride in their work, and then there's others that are just there for a paycheck, just like anything else.
Right.
But I think that's the problem in the blue-collar industry is that they're just not I wouldn't say disciplined because they'll work hard and stuff, and they do good at their job. It's just like putting that as a priority.
Right.
Is the best.
Yeah, having maybe the priorities set straight. And some of it could maybe be knowledge a little bit as well, too, of how to do that.
Right.
Or because, if they think it's extremely hard, which I'm not saying it's not going to be easy to stay in shape, but if they think it's extremely hard or they don't know how to do it, that may...
Right.
They're probably less likely to do it at that point.
Right. Yeah, and I think that they got to want to, I don't know, I guess it's kind of the culture around it because the older guys will beat you down if you do anything different. Like, that's just stupid and all, and that's not how we used to do it, which them guys need respect because they have done this industry. They understand a lot, and you need to learn the experience they've learned because there's just some things you can't learn by, oh, this is how you do it until you actually do it. Like, oh, it's that easy, but how do you get from to point D? He doesn't tell you A, B, C. You have to learn that. Like, how do I get to there? And so, but I also think that we get into this mentality, like blue collar. What I mean by that is, this is how I've always done it. There's not a better way. But with the advancement of tools, with the way people look at stuff different, we should be able to be like, that's a really good idea. Let's try that, and then improve on that. And it's still getting the job done. It's just the ability to roll with the punches or learn or adapt because between the tools and stuff. But a lot of times the blue collar, they take, it's just a mentality.
It's very traditional based. It's like, we've always done it this way. You got to do it that way.
Right. That's the only way to get it done and stuff. Or that, I think it should be the best idea. But a lot of times some of these guys get a little bit of ego and they think that just, I'm over you, you're going to do it my way instead of, even if your way, you think your way's better. And I've known guys like that. And I think that's a terrible mentality.
Have you ever asked one of the, like, maybe guys that you worked with or something, I don't know, maybe a dude that's in his 30s or like early 40s or something, that you per se, like, that you're describing, right? Like, out of shape, maybe smokes and does all this stuff. So, like, for an example, if the dude's like 40 years old, right? And I'm just curious if you've asked him, or maybe something you could ask them, like, and they're doing all that, right? They're super unhealthy, not taking care of themselves. And it's like, what do you expect when you turn 60 years old?
Yeah, I haven't. I know what you're saying. I haven't asked them that.
Because obviously right now, right, they may be like I'm okay, right? Like, I can smoke, I can, drink a bunch of energy drinks and be over, like, what I'm saying? They may not care, right? But it's like, if you, let's per se say this guy started working and doing this when he's 20 years old and he's 40 now, like, so let's just say, you put all this time and work in and you turn 50 and you die of a massive heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, it's serious, right? And then it's like you just work 30 years, and like you don't get your retirement,
right?
There's so many things that what's the point of like what you're doing?
The reason why I chuckled, there's a guy that actually happened with. He was hugely overweight. Yeah. He retired. I used to work with him. He retired, and he wasn't retired 2 years, and he died of a heart attack.
Yeah, it sounds awful. If that's your
and he loved it. He loved retirement because he got to be with his grandkids, and and that's the thing. Like what you were saying, you don't. I have never asked one of them, but it fits with their mentality. But it also, you could play it out like what you're saying, like not only retirement. We only get so many days off a year. Very busy, and then sometimes you get called in on storms, and I enjoy hunting, like you said, but if I want to be able to hunt, I got to take care of my body, especially if I want to go in certain places. Because if I don't feel good, I'm not going to want to enjoy myself.
Right.
A lot of these guys, I don't think they realize that, like you were saying, on that too.
Which I mean, obviously, I don't think you should live for retirement. I think that can be kind of bad potentially as well too. But then, like, you think about it, you get to retirement, that is like pretty awful if like you're retired for you just worked for maybe 30 or 40 years of your life, right? And like that's what you're banking on. Is like, I can retire now, do whatever I want, and you make it about a year or two, and then you die.
Right.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you were saying on that. Also, another thing is with money wise, with these blue collar guys, like they don't think. And I want to say there's a lot of good out there too.
Right.
But the vast majority that I have come up with, most of them are not thinking about tomorrow. It's just today.
Yeah, it's just today.
Yeah. And the media. And I'll just tell you, the industries, the trades especially, and you're hearing people talk about it more, the money's in the trades. It is. It's been there for a long time. But if you look on the top millionaires, we're not even the top 20. It's like I think it was like 35th, like your industry.
Like industries of like what work you do or whatever.
Yeah, so like, but there should be no reason, because you can go to a trade school, and a lot of times you get on as apprenticeship. Like Dylan at church, he's going to school, but he's also working a job apprenticeship. He's getting paid as he's learning.
Right.
That's how it worked with me. I went to a trade school for pretty much a climbing school. It wasn't much, but I got a CDL, and it said I could climb a 40-foot pole. And then I got in on an apprenticeship, and I was making $14 an hour, which, back then I didn't have hardly any bills or nothing, just getting started.
Well, dude, I've heard there's a guy here that went to plumbing apprenticeship here, and he was getting paid like, because they couldn't find anybody to work. It was like $40 an hour to start as an apprentice.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty good.
It's really good, man. Yeah, I started at 14, but it climbed quickly. I had to hit certain marks.
Yeah.
But instead of paying to go to school, which I'm not against college, but I'm just saying mathematically, instead of paying before you even make your first dollar, I'm getting paid as I learn, and I'm getting paid more as I go. Because by the time I topped out it was roughly 4.5 years from start date, close, in and out there. I was making $42 an hour as a topped out lineman in Kentucky, which it would only grow with, keep growing. I make more than that now, but I'm just saying, like, there should be no reason why linemen couldn't retire comfortably, or any trade, if they're smart with their money and their body, because it's like, I don't know, it's the delayed gratification is the problem. We get paid, and I don't know if it's they don't want to, or no one's told them, because I mean, you got to learn on anything, and you got to want to learn, but a lot of times, and you can mark my words on this, there's a welding school where I'm from.
Yeah.
And you can know when graduation's coming.
What's that?
Because like a week or two before graduation, brand new trucks in that parking lot. Everybody buys a brand new truck. And with welding, it is part of their life if you're going to travel, and because I got buddies that are but you don't need a brand new truck. Brand new, just to rip the bed off, put your welding bed on. Like, you can get a nice truck used. I understand you're going to make money off of it, but you can't justify a $100,000 truck when I can buy a $30,000. And it's probably got miles on it. It's probably going to be a little rougher, but I mean, I'm living it. It's pretty much is just they don't want to suffer. They think they've made it, and they really haven't yet.
Yeah, they more or less just started.
Right. And in 5 years, if you can afford it, you have your welding business or whatever. You're making money. Yeah, I'm not against a brand new truck. It's just, I don't think you should right at the beginning before you even start making your first dollar.
Yeah, I'd say it's a smart thing to
a lot but it's not just welders. I mean, there's a lot of trades that they think once they get that job, they just buy boats, they buy trucks, they buy anything and everything, guns. I mean, just all kinds of stuff.
They just think they can, which maybe most of the time they can. They just outmake what they spend, essentially.
Well, it only lasts so long, because there was one guy my buddy worked with. He went to welding school. Yeah. And he got to the industry, and the guy was actually our age, and this had been 5 years ago or more, and he done went bankrupt twice. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you get side by sides, and I'm not saying those things ain't bad, but I'm saying is they don't know the culture of money. A lot of these guys that work hard, at least I didn't, I didn't come from money. Most of the time, you're more wealthier people, they send their kids to college and stuff. Right. More your trade people, they didn't have many options, and I know that's insensitive, but it's just the truth, you know. Yeah. But we actually have an advantage, because in 10 years, a doctor would be making, I don't know, it takes them 10 years to get out of school.
Yeah, and I know what you're talking about.
They haven't made the first dollar.
Yeah. Plus all the debt potentially from whatever their
they're starting in the hole. If you do it right and you stay in it from when you were 18, you could almost revenue almost $1 million. In any industry, especially welding, lineman, because I mean, like, I've been doing it 9 years, and in revenue, obviously you're not keeping it all, but you're competing against a doctor that hasn't made nothing, and he has all that debt. Like, there should be no reason why you can't retire comfortably and physically fit.
Absolutely.
Especially.
Yeah. I think it's super cool. I want to talk about so you decided to run, which I said I was going to do it. I know I'm not doing it. But the 100-mile, the Mohican 100, and you went and did it, or, attempted to do it. I mean, you made it 54 miles, which is super impressive. What made you want to go, run, 50 miles?
So I didn't really want to, but I don't know. I'm big on, so I told you the comfort crisis, and I won't give too much away, but that book changed my whole perspective on a lot of things, on working and all that. It's kind of like, there's a part of it, he's like, you set a goalpost, it's called a misogi, okay, and he gives this background story of it. I won't go in that, but it's pretty much, you set a goal so far,
I like the word misogi though. That's pretty cool.
Look it up. It's pretty.
Okay.
It is, but it's some. I can't remember the whole story of it, but it's some ancient thing that. But anyway, you set a goalpost so far that there's probably a 5% chance, if that, to complete it, right? So, I've never ran anything. Like I wasn't a runner. I did work and pitch hay and I told you all that, worked on a farm. So, I mean, I wasn't like 300 pounds going to try to run 100 miles.
Right.
But I've never run anything. I never ran a 5K, never ran. Yeah. I only run if something was chasing me. That's right. That's how it went. So, but Will and them were talking about it, and they were like, everybody's kind of on the edge of like, should we do it? We shouldn't do it? Are we ready? Because there's a couple guys from church talking about it. And Will, I finally just told him, so listen, let's just go for it. Let's see what's the worst. Because I didn't know how far I could run. I really didn't in one time.
Right.
And I was like, but I guarantee I could probably find it in 100 miles.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was like, but that was the thing. So once I'd done it, it was awful. I'm not going to lie.
Sure.
It was awful, especially at the end in the dark, when I was coming back down, and I knew my legs were just pure pain, and just every stump I hurt or would kick because I couldn't get my feet up high enough in the dark, because it's a trail run. It's not. It's not. I would just have a sharp pain clear up to my neck. I mean, clear up my... Yeah, so I was like, at that point, it's like, when do you stop? Because I knew I was going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
And I could have ran a few more, but I was too late on time. Like, there was no way I could make up enough time to complete it, and I probably wouldn't complete it anyway. But I got to that... I told myself I would get to that next checkpoint, and I would just keep doing that. But with that comfort crisis, he talks about that. You set a goalpost so far that you might 5% chance of completing it. But honestly, I didn't expect to get the 100 miles, but I never thought I could get 54. I never ran a marathon. I thought that was a feat in itself.
Yeah.
But I ran over two consecutive ones.
Yeah.
So that's what got me into that, is like, why not push yourself so far with anything? Like, why not try it, And Jordan Peterson also has a good quote, is like, you're going to die at the end of this, at life. Why not play the most magnificent game ever? So why not try? I mean, you're going to die in however many years, maybe before, but why not? Why not try to start that business? Why not try to run 100 miles? What else are you going to do in the meantime? You going to sit and play on your phone, Yeah,
absolutely. I looked up what misogi was. It's, I got here. Basically, it's like what you said, an audacious goal that you're setting, or like a milestone. Mm-hmm. Ancient Japanese practice, and misogi meaning water. Well, this is water cleansing. It was a traditional ritual involving purification through immersed water or natural. Okay, I don't think that's the.
I know it's Japanese. Same. It was talking about some folklore thing he does in his book, and I just got it off of what. Out of the comfort crisis.
Okay. So, well, anyway, it sounds super
the
cool.
top one, yeah.
Misogi Challenge. Yeah, encourages individuals to set an audacious goal for the year that pushes them beyond their comfort zone with a 50-50 chance of success, focusing on personal growth rather than competition. It's inspired by a Japanese Shinto tradition of how do you say it again? Misogi. which involves ritual purification through. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, I knew it was Japanese.
So there's like a ritual that they do it with something with, I don't know, dumping purified water on them or something.
Yeah, and he gets into the whole background of it in that book. So if you want to check that out, I'm not going to go into it. I can't remember it all.
Yeah, that's super cool though. I like that.
Yeah.
So what was obviously very challenging, right? You're running this. I assume at some point before 50 miles, was there a point that in your mind you wanted to quit?
37, mile 37.
Okay.
And I actually tried to quit. And I'm not going to sit here and like say, oh, my IT band, because I went from zero running to running with Will and Kyle
right
every day, and it was like 20 miles, 10 miles, just kept racking them up. And my IT band, it literally hurt worse to go downhills than it did uphills.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I knew going into it that my IT band was still sore, but I took 2 weeks off before the run. I didn't run anything, and it didn't hurt as much. Like I couldn't walk up and downhill. Like it was awful.
Wow.
But mile 37, it came back, and I tried to quit. And I will say the Mohican volunteer staff or paid staff, whatever they were very nice. And they're like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And they kind of questioned. He's like, just sit down and give yourself a break, and then I'll accept it here in a minute. Took some ibuprofen, and I sat there for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm laying on my back, and Emily Gaines, Will's wife, was actually there.
Okay.
And she was sitting there talking to me, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to be in pain whether I lay here, because it was still hurting, or if I keep moving. It was the same amount of pain.
Right.
And I was like, so I could quit. In my mind, I was like, I can quit and still have this pain for hours. I might as well walk and gain something. So I got up right then, just stood up and just like, I'm going. And I went the next, so 37 to 54 the rest of the way.
Yeah. No.
So it kind of go back to what I was saying, like you're going to be in pain whether you do it or you don't. So you might as well push
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really cool way to adjust your mentality and change your state and just be like, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I mean, at that point, did you kind of think that you weren't going to make it a full 100, or were you just like, I'm just going to try to do as much as I can?
Right. So you only had 32 hours.
Right.
And I knew that going into it. And at that point, I would have to keep the same pace. And I knew I was just only going to get slower as the night went through at a hope to get it. And I really didn't think I would be able to.
Yeah.
I just kept looking at my watch. I'm like, there's no way. Like, Right. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go as far as I can.
Yeah.
Without quitting and just see how it can go. Because I knew they would let you continue, but you're not, like, you wouldn't have got it allotted 32 hours.
I gotcha. Like even if you could have like went through and done the whole thing in like
the whole
35 or whatever, but they wouldn't have
recognized it. I've been at DNF as well.
Right.
And by the time I got down the hill, because they want to they got to check and make sure no runners get abandoned, like, because if I hurt myself on the trail, they have to walk that and stuff. So they'll pull you at a certain point, like, yeah, you're done, But I got down the hill, and I looked up the next one, and I was like, I'm gonna hurt something, because I've been pushing them extra 20-some miles, and at that point, what is it for? Like, yeah, I know, like David Goggins and them, like, oh, I'll break my foot and stuff. I was like, I done way more than I ever thought I could.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
at that point, I didn't have to prove anything else. And I was like, this is, I'll come back and finish it again when I'm more prepared. But I had to call it then.
Yeah.
On that.
That's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Well, appreciate it. I'm happy with it, I guess.
Are you going to try to run the full thing again?
Yeah. I was going to this year, where I got newly married. I didn't have the time allocated with that. And Will didn't either, which Will did complete it. We got to tell it. He got the 128 hours.
Yeah, it's super impressive.
Yeah, that's insane. But he was gonna do it this year, and then something come up, so then he was planning on next year.
Yeah.
It said 27 is what he says he's going to do.
Okay.
So which now Will's maybe not doing the 100. He wants to do the 250 Cocodona.
I remember him saying the 250.
I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm done.
Yeah, I was like the same thing. Like I just want to try to do it at some point too. Just say like, just kind of a mental toughness thing. My main concern, the main concern of mine is obviously I do jiu-jitsu. So, if I go tear something or get messed up, I can't do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And that's what I'm really passionate about.
Right. Yeah, because I literally ran just a little bit before that. Nothing, like never signed up for any races, was just for hunting. And I don't want to jeopardize anything. I get that. Your passion is jiu-jitsu. I don't want to injure myself, so I can go on these backcountry hunts, or I can go even turkey hunting. I walk around a lot and stuff, So,
what last thing here, I want to ask you about hat business.
Okay.
What made you want to start the hat business?
Kind of like what, I've always, one reason why I went to line work was because it paid, money.
Yeah.
I want to make more money, and it's just a simple fact today that things are higher. $100,000 a year used to be, that was when you made it. But now it's like, I'm not knocking 100,000, because there's people that make way less than that and they're still doing good in this world. But it's like housing costs. You're building a house, you know how much it is.
It's expensive.
The houses that are on the market that are already built, they've just went really high. So, and I'm not big on having a whole lot of debt. I don't want that. I'm not, you can't have no debt at all. But I will say it is a little bit easier to get things done, and you can do what you want a lot more easier if you don't have debt, because you don't have something lording over you. So why I started a hat business is I started looking at different side businesses and what's their ROI and all that, and trying to see what kind of revenue I can bring in while working another full-time job, because I'm not leaving my line work right now. I've thought about getting equipment, but the problem with like getting skid steers or a backhoe or not backhoe, a track hoe or anything.
It's expensive.
Yeah, the overhead is just, and you don't make money unless it's running.
Right.
Well, I've got to work a full-time job. I could not make enough on weekends and after work
to pay for it.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, and I like operating equipment, but I don't think I could handle. I couldn't do it. It just financially wasn't smart enough.
Right.
So I got to looking around, and a guy that I went to church with, actually the preacher, him and his wife bought a building, and she sold a lot of stuff on eBay. Is what they originally done, and she does taxes as well. So to help pay for that building when they were leasing it was do that. Well, he bought this laser for something for fun, a small one, and he started lasering out stuff and started putting it on eBay. Well, it was selling quick, so then they started doing more and more and watching videos, and now he has 7 lasers, and he still preaches, but he does this on the side, and the gross revenue was like insane for what the overhead is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And he does like a lot of knick-knack wood stuff, and I'll do wood, but they're a one-time kind of like sell.
Right.
So like I sell you this ornament, that's a one-time thing. With hats, if you get it dirty, you lose it, constantly. I mean, I've had this one not very long. It's mine, but it's already getting dirty and stuff, and after a certain point, you're going to throw it away.
Yeah.
But also, so I know where I got that. You order again. So it's kind of a repeat thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it.
Okay. And then what's, like, how many hats right now are you making? Are you making quite a few? Or?
Yeah. So last year, which I don't have a website yet, and that's going to happen this year. I'm not super great with all the technical stuff. So I got somebody that is we're going to make a website, get the laser more accessible, and I'm going to try to carve out more time, because I do work a lot of overtime at my job, but carve out some more time for it to help it grow. But last year we done a little over $20,000 revenue. That was just word of mouth. And that was hats and wood stuff and some other things that I sold on the side. Not all profit, obviously,
Yeah.
but just for what little bit I did, it was a really good return.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Time. Yeah.
I think it's really cool when people start their own business, because obviously, I own my own business, so I have a lot of respect for people that want to take that journey. Really rewarding, but really challenging, as you probably have already had challenges with dealing with that and
Right.
having your own business. What's like a good phone number that somebody's listening that they can they want to buy a hat from you or buy hats so they can get a hold of you?
606-748-2939, and I'll respond better to a text, just because of spam calls and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll repeat that one more time: 606-748-2939.
Yeah, and that's actually the gym. I buy all the gym's hats from you now too. So does really good work. Love his hats. So if you need hats made, contact Jonathan.
Yep.
So do you have anything else you want to put in there for a plug for your hats?
No, that's. I mean, I do mostly Richardson 112s. I can get any kind of hat that you want within reason. But yeah, the main one I like doing quality, so I get Richardson 112. So
Yeah, which I love them too. They're super good hats.
thank you.
So thank you for making our hats.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Last thing here, I want to ask: what is maybe like top 3 book recommendations that you like to read, or 1 or 3, however many you want to give?
Okay, I'll do 3, but I was going to say Comfort Crisis is the top of the top, I think. Love that one. If you want a business one, I would really recommend Dave Ramsey's new book, Build a Business You Love.
Yeah, which I'm going to second that. He got me to read that one. Absolutely amazing book. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, if you're running a business, it undeniably, Dave's on point on that.
Yeah, that was a really good book.
And I've let's see, I'm trying to think. There's another pretty good one that I've started. I wouldn't I'm not going to say it's wonderful, but it's Built in America by Sam Walton.
Yeah.
It's been a really interesting read as well.
Okay.
And of course the Bible.
Well, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I guess whenever I ask people for that, I always say the Bible's like, besides the Bible, because that should be number one, obviously.
But yeah, the Comfort Crisis, Build a Business You Love, and then Built in America by Sam Walton. Them are all pretty good, really good books.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed talking to you. It was a lot of fun. If you have any more questions or anything, especially about his hat business, share the number one more time.
739.
Awesome. You can shoot Jonathan a text message, and we'll have to have him come back on and talk again sometime. So we don't really get into hunting and some of the other things. Super fun. Thanks for coming and talking, Jonathan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff on whatever you're listening to us. We appreciate the 5-star reviews or anything you want to give us your honest opinion, and share it to a friend that you think would enjoy listening. Besides that, have a blessed day and get after it. And we can't wait to see you in the gym again at some point.